is a remnant rising. This remnant, it's not a single church, it's not a single denomination or people group. It's made up of people's hearts all over the world who, after all the pruning, all the heartache, through all the process, have finally reached a point in their journey and say, you know what, God? I'm yours. All of me for all of you. I want my life to look like yours. I am willing to learn. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to answer the call if you will be with me. It's time to answer this call. It's time for the remnant to rise.
Hello, welcome to Remnant TV. I am so excited that you are joining us today. Listen, there is a remnant that is rising all over the earth. These are people of God that are all from different societies, all different backgrounds, different cultures that are answering the call of God on their life. And you know what? We believe that you are a part of this remnant. So we are so excited that you're joining us today. There's something amazing and so special, actually someone so special and so amazing that I would love to introduce you today here on Remnant TV, Erin Starkey. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Erin, you are so amazing. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So Erin, your background, you are in education, girlfriend. You are just amazing in what you do. You know, just getting to know you as I've been honored to so far. God has just really been setting you up to make a difference in the world of education. You know, you have your background, your schooling, but you have a master's, okay, in education. You've also co-authored books, you know, on project-based learning. I mean, girl, you're on fire over here. But man, we're so blessed to have you today and being a part of Remnant TV. In perfect Remnant TV fashion, that is literally being made. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? But do it. I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself using third person point of view.
Fabulous. So here this goes. So Erin has been in education since 2008, and part of what is so fascinating to her about education is the international influence you can have. And the reason international is so important to Erin is because she grew up in a family where mission work was at the core of how the family functioned. So Erin's maternal grandparents were missionaries in Vienna, Austria for 21 years. And they started back in 1983.
Whoa,
and
that's awesome.
So that's when the international bug bit Erin's family. And that meant that not only did Erin grow up getting to spend summers in Vienna working with her grandparents and alongside them and with her cousin specifically, that also meant that the family decided that we needed to get outside of ourselves and broaden our horizons. Wow. And so Erin's Christmas traditions changed.
Okay.
And instead of your traditional Christmas ham and green beans and mashed potatoes, which are great, Erin's family decided that they would vote on a country. And every year they would do a different country's food. We would give a gift from that different country. And so things completely shifted. And what happened to Erin when the family decided to make that pivot was Erin was now exposed to a world beyond just America. And when you are aware of things outside of what you're used to, you realize that you are one small drop in a beautiful ocean. And that ocean has amazing fish, and it has amazing coral, and it has amazing species that None of which are the same, and they're all designed to work beautifully together.
Yes.
And when they function as they were designed, it's unstoppable.
Come on. Okay. So you're also a preacher, right? Is that what this is? Because I mean, like, I'm just like, well, that was a sermon. Hey, man, that's good. That's awesome. No, wow, Erin, that's amazing. You know, just what you're saying, the reason why you feel called to education, I mean, is, if I'm hearing you correctly, I mean, it's because you have been exposed to amazing things in the world that have broadened your horizon and have inspired you to do the same for others. And that's just amazing. That's so amazing. And honestly, that kind of rolls right into the next question, you know, I had for you is, because you kind of already covered a little bit of it, but how did you know that you were called into education? How do you even recognize that, you know, in today's world, especially as a believer?
So I think a lot of that calling happens when we're still and when we're quiet and when you know to look and to watch. And my story into education is a little bit unique in that, one, I probably couldn't have avoided it. I'm from a family of educators. My mom was a teacher, my paternal grandparents were in education. And so it was in my blood. And that is all a lot of what maybe had my heart and my mind ready to accept that calling. I knew I wanted to go into service, part of mission work. My dad is a late in life pediatrician. He shifted gears on my mom when I was about 3 and went back to medical school, called an audible.
Wow.
And what that did was it opened doors for us to do medical mission trips. So in conjunction with the work I was getting to do with my maternal grandparents, now getting to do mission work with my dad in the medical field, thinking, okay, maybe I'll go into being a doctor. Maybe that's what I want to do. I love what my dad does. He used to put the books out and we would study with him and use these fine print markers to color the different systems, and I was immediately fascinated and engaged with that. But education took root because in 1998 I was 12 and I had gone for the first time to Europe to spend the summer with my grandparents. My cousin Joni and I had gotten ourselves to Europe. This was before they did flight attendants as your escorts. They accidentally miscommunicated, so we had to do it all by ourselves. It's fine. A 12-year-old and a 10-year-old, we did it. We're good.
Not today.
I'm here.
Not today's world. See,
So-
praise God. Yeah, no.
But what they did was for 2 weeks, we would either go to Russia or we would go into Poland, and they would teach English using the Bible, much like Let's Start Talking. But it was through Eastern European missions. And so I watched my grandparents teach the older generation in Poland learn how to read. And if we know anything about growing up under a rule that was less than free, they were used to taking information instead of learning it for themselves. And so
Taking it.
they were just
Instead of
passive
learning.
receivers,
Wow.
passive receivers of whatever was being told or shared. That's just what it was. And so to see the joy and the tears in the eyes of these people who for the first time understood fully for themselves the Word of God, I knew I wanted to be a part of that. I knew I wanted the opportunity to do that, to bring freedom through education and taking for granted that I was literate. That I knew what these words were around me, that I knew I could open a Bible at any point and just read. And they didn't have that opportunity until 1998. And they could read and they could understand, and they felt like they were heard, they felt spoken to, they felt free. And so I knew I wanted to be a part of that. And so that was always in my mind. And then my paternal grandparents were big in influencing their local community. And so they never really retired. It was teased them. They were 86 before they finally decided maybe we'll pull back a little bit.
Oh, wow. Oh, they loved what they did.
Yes.
And it was not just a job. They loved it.
They loved the students farthest from opportunity. They loved the least of these. And their goal was the students that didn't have enough exposure to literature and to how to read, to hear people read, to doing those things, they were going to be the ones to make sure they had that. And so they partnered with teachers in the local elementaries, and they figured out what students needed, their intervention, and they got all of the elders in the community to start a reading program. And so after school, they would pull these kids that the teachers talked about.
Oh, wow.
And they would teach. And so really, when I say I couldn't escape education, I really probably could not have escaped it, even if I wanted to. But
that seems to be the calling of God, though, right?
It really
you just can't really avoid the Lord sometimes.
Yeah, keep trying. Let's just talk about Jonah, how well that worked.
Right.
And so I just think that has brought me the most joy, and I find myself the most engaged when I know that what we are doing makes a difference. And it is through education, through teaching critical thinking, through teaching communication skills, through teaching literacy in all subjects that it's like, wow, this is real. There is life outside and learning outside of the classroom. And you get to enjoy this. Wow. So that's why I feel like I'm called to that.
Ooh. Chills, literally, Erin, because Remnant TV, we are wanting to encourage and inspire and empower God's remnant around the world. People, right? People are made up of this remnant. And so to hear you share how you know you're called, I know that ministers to our audience, that speaks to the people who are watching, because education is no joke. But to know that you're called, to have your reason why, especially in the times we are living in right now, with everything happening in the world, you have to know that why. You have to know if you were called or not to be where you are. And so just to see the passion in your eyes when you're sharing that, thank you for explaining that. And one of the things, that is happening in our world today that has affected not just America, the United States, but the world, COVID. Right? COVID-19. And I'm sure that has affected the education world. Would you say that COVID-19 is definitely kind of made its way and having to change some things in the education world? And
I think for teachers, the word of the year is going to be pivot. So we've always been pretty flexible. Those of us who have enjoyed the most success with education have always been pretty flexible, but that's really what we're looking at is pivot. You've got this, and you can do it in a real way. So parents, as the first teachers, you can do this. Remember that you love your kids first, and that relationship will drive everything, and it's going to be okay.
See, can we hold that thought? Because I love what you're saying. You're talking about pivoting, right? And you're talking to the parents now, which is actually what we are going to get into next here, right after we come back from a short break. If you are watching and you are being blessed right now by Erin, by this conversation, please let us know. Visit our website, www.theremnanttv.com. Get in contact with us. If you want to get involved, we would love to see where you could fit. If you'd like to donate or support this ministry, we would be honored to be able to utilize those resources to share the gospel and encourage other people. We will be right back. Welcome back to Remnant TV. We are very glad you are here. We are talking to Erin Starkey. Erin, again, thank you so much for being here. You are a pillar in the education world and such an amazing sister in Christ. Right before the break, we were talking about COVID-19 and the effects that it has had in the education world, all around the world, not just the United States. But Erin, can you talk to us just a moment? Would you really take a moment to encourage parents whose children are home now? Or, I mean, their whole education, that whole system has changed. So can you encourage the parents who are maybe frazzled right now, maybe trying to homeschool for the first time, or do things at home to make their children still stay sharp, when they're usually at school? What would you say as an educator and as a believer to these parents?
So a little bit earlier, Lauren, you talked about your why and holding your why at the center. And as believers, our why gets to be that we love God and we love others. And so parents, the joy of the Lord truly is our strength. So remember that the work we do is built on a foundation of love. And it is out of a place of love that we teach our kids. Our educators are coming from that same perspective. It is out of a deep, tremendous love for your students that we do what we do. And so we want to partner with you. So bring your love of your kids and the knowledge you have of your kids that we need as educators, and hold on to that. Remember that nothing will be greater than the love that your kids feel from you. So take a break and get outside if you need to. Remember that the walks you go on, science is all around you. The baking that you could do together is full of math. You can count about anything. Count the bugs, count the leaves, count the rocks, count your steps. There is math and science everywhere. Make a goal to read one book together a day. Start with just one. And that, let it be your joy. Let your joy come through, because what you do with your kids is precious. And anything you do will help us as educators. So don't forget your joy, don't forget your love, and let that strength of the Lord fill you in that. Be my encouragement.
Wow. Amen, Erin. Thank you so much for your time today. Let us not forget our joy in the process. There is a great pivot, a great shift, even as Erin mentioned earlier, that is happening in the world and our culture today. But as believers, as God's remnant, we can always have joy because we know that God is in control and He is in the midst of every change that occurs. Thank you so much for watching Remnant TV. We are so excited that you will be joining us, not just today, but next week as well. Catch you soon.
Suspect down. We need MC here.
The protest became a riot.
Police officers were being shot one by one. 5 police officers were killed.
But for the 4th straight night, protests are happening across the country in cities big and small. Some protesters turning violent, attacking police. It's a sign of just how divided our country remains, as you saw earlier.
Liberty.
Oh, liberty.
Liberty. Oh, liberty. In your last moments, did you ring your bell? In my life, I can recall the day you fell. By freedom, until your last breath, your banner did wave. Yet I remember the day we dug your grave. It was the day that for pleasure We traded our faithful bride for the whore that stalked our children's future right outside. It was the day we chose pride that sealed your fate, for the real enemy had already infiltrated our gate. It was the day we believed that enemy became our friend, that your life, O liberty, was destined to end. For it was our fear we befriended. That was the real enemy all along. And we listened to the sultry melodies of fear's lullaby song.
As we slept, after giving the enemy our ear, you stood watch, but your assassin grew near. For in the morning, all awoke to your ill fate. Your stars and stripes told it was too late.
For your anthem faded and the headlines were made. Liberty died, and right beside love, she was laid. But I knew the truth. I was awake that night. I saw fear sneak away and knew something was not right. Fear was cunning, but needed the power of rage. So fear discovered where we kept our hatred caged. Hatred had been chained and lay dormant for years, but grew thirsty again for blood after smelling our fears. I saw what happened. I cried when you fell, but who would believe me? Even if I would tell. Yet when I close my eyes, I can't help but see fear releasing hatred, and hatred murdering liberty.
La da da, la da da, la da da da. Sometimes I forget that you're worthy, and sometimes I forget I live for your glory, Lord. But I'm reminded that I can sometimes get a little too bright. But that's not my problem, I let it get too dark. But I'm reminded that you are my everything. All I want, all I am, all I need. All I want, all I am, all I need is. All I want, all I am, all I need. All I want, all I am, all I need is in you. It's in you. Sometimes I forget when I'm in the middle. You stand beside me 'cause you're faithful, Lord. But I'm reminded that you'll never leave, even in the fire. You keep me from the heat as you hold me, Lord. And you remind me that you are my everything. That you are all I need. So all I want, all I am, all you. You're my everything, yes you are. You're my everything. It's in you.
If you or someone you know is interested in being a part of the show, or you'd like to donate and become a vision supporter for Remnant TV, we would love to connect with you. Visit us at www.theremnanttv.com, or you can send us an email to riseup@theremnanttv.com. Remember, there is a remnant of God's people rising up all over the earth, and we believe that you are a part of it. We'll see you soon.